Yeah.
It's not.
Okay. I guess we'll do them first.
Thank you.
Going home. Yeah, probably there. Nice touch.
It's not that long.
Okay, I'll call the village board meeting for Monday, February 18th, 2019 to order. We have a quorum and the agenda was properly posted.
Yes.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 4 is public appearances, and this is public's opportunity to speak about any subject that's not a specific agenda item. We have a number of folks here tonight wishing to speak about TDS, which is not an agenda item, so I guess we're going to start with that. Matt Dunning? Matt? If you could come up here and make sure that green light is on at the microphone, sit down at the table, or stand at the podium and introduce
Hey, John?
yourself.
Make sure you're on mute if you're not going to talk, okay? Because we're getting feedback.
Is there a little green light on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay, then you're good.
All right, so, hi, my name is Matt Dunning. I live over at 303 Forreston Drive. So, I guess my big beef with this is, one, where was the notification on this? I went on vacation, came home, half my front yard's ripped up, big pile of dirt left, big tube in the middle of the yard. When I asked about it, I was told we got a variance, or easement. We can go within 6 feet, and they were very forceful with that. And I mean, if they want to be jerks about the 6 foot mark, if I get my tape measure out, there are spots. You're over 6 feet.
All right.
So, I just kind of want to know, like, how did all this come about? I looked on your guys' website at the past meeting minutes. Where was the formal vote on this? Where was the town hall notification this is coming? I mean, all we got was a notification back in the fall that said, hey, TDS is coming. If you guys want in, $25, give us your name, your address, and you'll get priority hookup. That's a big difference than, hey, we're coming and tearing up your yard and leaving it for a while and saying, well, it's winter, we can't really plant sod. Maybe you should have waited till spring then and not left my yard like this. I'm the one that's going to have to deal with that come spring with all this snow and all the dirt, all the mess that's been made and the mess that the snow melt's going to make. I also noticed in that video that a TDS for this project to be a go needed 18% buy-in from hoods, as they called them. And I got a feeling that 18% buy-in would have been a lot tougher to get if it was a lot more than just, we're going to give you TDS. service to your property, this is what this means is gonna happen. Because a lot of our neighborhoods that are, especially the older ones, those services are all in the back of our property, not the front. And now we've got this nice open space, well manicured yards, and every other house now, we got a big green post just sitting right in our front yard. And they don't care. They're in, they're out, and they're making money. This is a for-profit company. This is not a utility company. They're here to make a buck. That's all this is about for them. He said as much in his video. I'm here to grow the TDS business. Your area is growing, and we'd like to get in on it. So I would like to know from you as the board, where's the oversight? Why were they allowed to just come in and say, hey, I'm going to put a post in the middle of this guy's yard, even though it's in the back? And I understand it's easier to add, but why couldn't that have been a vault? Why couldn't that go below ground so it didn't interfere with my yard? Where was the oversight there? All I got is a runaround. Well, TDS can do whatever they want. Really? They can do whatever they want, just come into our community as a for-business company and do whatever they want, no oversight from anybody? So yes, I'd very much like to know, one, what was done to let the public properly know what really was going on. Two, when was the vote that this actually happened and gave the approval? Because I saw that presentation, then I saw, I believe it was in the November minutes, that they were looking over the plans for final approval, and we can't find those either. All we know is that they got permits to go under the street. That's all we know. We don't know what the actual plans, and I've done remodel projects in my house. I had to submit a formal plan that says this is what I'm going to do. And we're going to draw it all out. Where's that from TDS? Where is it drawn out? Where can I see? And who signed off on that and said it's okay to come in and just do that to our neighborhood? And three, where's the town hall meeting or anything to talk about this? You know, if a restaurant wants to come in here and serve beer, we got to have a town hall meeting so everybody gets to say their piece about serving liquor in the town, in the village proper. But now and I could care less about that. You go and have a meal and have a drink and you go home. Great. But now you just viciously rearrange the entire village just so you can make a buck. And you're claiming you're going to give me faster service. I work in computers. Yeah, to the post, you can beat Charter hands down. You get into my house, unless I'm sitting downstairs with a bunch of expensive networking gear, that's going to run just as fast as Charter's running. Because the bottleneck for Charter is not Charter, it's the equipment that I have in my house. And I'm not going to put in big pro backbone fiber optic network in my house. I'm going to put in the same switch you go buy over at Best Buy for $50. And the same Wi-Fi that you buy at Best Buy for, a couple $100, and that's what I'm going to use to run my house. That's my bottleneck for speed, not the post where Charter's coming. And I fail to see how this is a much better alternative for me, because now I've got a choice. I still don't know what I'm going to pay because they're not telling us. I went to their website. You don't see it. It just says, well, we'll let you know. There's nothing there. So how is this a good deal for us? So,
We have a number of folks that want to speak, so.
Yep, no, that's fine. I just wanted to, yep.
Everybody
Well,
else, thanks.
I'm guessing they're going to probably rehash a lot of what I just said, but thank you. Thank you.
Jim? Yes?
You might want to remind people, they might want to try to keep it to the 3 minutes.
Yeah, I will, okay. All right. Let's see. Scott Donovic, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, Scott? Okay. If we could, let's try to keep it to 3 minutes. We have a number of people speaking on this issue.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
Sure.
my concerns are what was voiced already. There's no notification. All of a sudden, one day, my yard's dug up. We've got a utility post in the back corner of our lot where the cable comes in, the charter is there, the phone is there. Why is this being put in my front yard? I've got a post that's this high, this big around, right in my front yard. And if, here's an example. This is what the post in my yard looks like. The thing's leaning on an angle. It's half-assed. They just put another one in across the street that I have to look at, and that thing's a leaning tower of pizza also. And I guess the thing I want to know is why can't they put it in the back where the other utilities are? Or if they have to have it in the front yard, they have underground vaults. This is right off of the TDS website. They could put that in, you wouldn't see this, you know,
Can we
the
keep
village-
these?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
The village does a good job on, you know, controlling signage and maintaining the aesthetics, but I don't think anybody on the board probably realize or wants to have all these posts in the front yards as you're driving down every street in the community. It really looks terrible. So I think there's got to be a better way for them to do it, and I'm just wondering what our options are as citizens here to force them to do something differently and and fix the aesthetics of this.
Thank you.
What was your address?
315 Forreston Drive.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Jack, I understand that there's no sound, and I know a number of people were listening because they couldn't be here tonight
No sound,
on TV or the cable.
oh.
Look, there's microphones on the podium.
Yeah, the microphone should pick up to go on to the
I'm
YouTube.
just saying,
Wait.
relaying a text message.
Oh, okay. Can you guys hear back there?
Yes, it's.
Okay.
it's
You
online.
just heard that from somebody that's
Yeah.
watching.
It doesn't stream live,
No.
there's a delay. Okay. All right, Jim Nelson?
Hello. Thanks for letting me talk. This is the first meeting I've been to. I also live on Forreston. I'm at 233 Forreston Drive. I'm not going to say the same thing that's already been said. In my predicament or instance, my house has easement on the side and village property in the back because I'm close to the marsh. I'm 4 houses up from where the marsh is next to Hydrite, and so there's village property in my backyard as well. That's where all the utility is located, but when we came home one day, the front yard was dug up right in the front and a post was placed in the front yard on the side too. So that was the main question that we had, is just where were we deciding to go through the village property in the back or the easements? It seemed as though that was never discussed or talked or even an option for us. So thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you. Larry Gunlock? 111 Arbery Court? Did I get-
111 Arbery,
Okay.
yes. And pretty much the same concerns. I do have a question, and that is from your minutes of May 7th, 2018. We will bring the fiber from a neighboring community, then it would be connected to the green box in the backyard, and then come into the home. Now, I read some of these things that I got. It also says that your site will be cleaned up and put back to as good or better than it was before. So I asked, when I read that, and they were digging in my yard, that I asked them, I assume that, or said to them, I assume that you will be putting in sod when it comes springtime. And the answer was, oh no, we only have to throw down some grass seed. So I would suggest to you that as good or better, I expect to have sod. Now, the other thing that we got zero notification, we never even got a hanger on the door. We didn't know anything about this until we got back from, lucky us, going to Florida and came back last week. I have a good friend that lives in the condos south of 1885. And he said there were 3 TDS people that came in and gave them a presentation 2 months ago. And the question was asked of the TDS people, when are you going to be doing this? And the answer was, well, we can't do it until springtime because we can't do anything in the winter. And this was obviously not a correct comment. And I would suggest that doing this in the winter is really nasty. When we had the hot or the very warm weather on Thursday, and they dug up my yard on Wednesday, so I had puddles of water around there. We've got big muddy mess. You've got some big rocks that have come up, and I'm very dissatisfied with how this whole thing has gone, extremely. So Thank you for the,
Thank you. Michelle Benedict?
Hi, my name is Michelle Benedict. I live at 108 Arbory Court. I also, a lot of what they said, I feel the same way. I feel like we weren't alerted, we weren't given enough information. I have a huge muddy hole in my front yard, and it's huge, it's not little. And I just, I think that the boxes need to be, or the lines need to be put in the back of the yards like they originally said they were going to do.
Jeff Hansen.
Guys, I tried to be a little more prepared this time, so I brought handouts. I didn't forget you, Lee. So, round two. And I did bring some for the crowd too. So I figured you had some there. As you guys know, TDS is kind of close and dear to everybody's heart here, and I'm somewhat frustrated likewise that there wasn't a developers agreement. And that developers agreement, I think, would have eliminated a lot of the issues. And I thought that there was some common ground that we shared with MyTech, who was, I believe, the intermediary person between TDS, Intercon, and JJ. What I present here is essentially the agreement that you guys have in place with STS Tower Communications down here at Fireman's Park. For some of you that may not be aware, that used to be a water tower, and communications were then leased back to STS. And in November of 2013, and I don't know who was here, entered into an agreement, which is a private business in Indiana, for easement for access, which they have sold, I think, the rights to Verizon and I think US Cellular. Lee, is that correct?
Yeah.
And in doing so, the agreement that we have states, and I'll just cut to the chase, rights and responsibilities of the village and of the tower through this case study, which is Cottage Grove will not lease, sell, grant easement on any property to an entity intending to construct communication facilities within 1 mile of that tower. To give you perspective, it's 1 mile from that tower to Highway BB. So everything south of Highway BB, I believe, is in breach of the contract that the Village of Cottage Grove has with STC. TDS currently is in the wrong, and somebody needs to answer to this. This is an agreement that Matt, you and Lee, you guys drafted this, 2013, approved May 11th, 2013. At this point, I would ask that JJ be directed to have TDS take that pet out of my driveway or out of my lawn, because there's a breach of contract here. And I don't know who the breach is, but I think everybody can read what I'm reading, and that is no entity was to have easement within 1 mile of that tower. Does anybody have questions for me?
can't ask questions in public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Suzanne Warborn, did I get that right?
Good evening, Suzanne Forward. I'm at 229 Forreston Drive, and I do have one tower installed on the, looking to the straight left-hand side, and not sure yet if we're going to have one on the right-hand side. There's still a cone there. So, as many people said, I kind of recapped, I think, main concern, no notification. I guess I would ask, were you notified of, the process and primarily the lack of cleanup that went on with this location, et cetera? Were you made aware of that? Another question, certainly, were there options for the homeowners and for the board to review? And if so, why were those not presented to the homeowners to make a decision on, or at least weigh in on prior to the process happening? I did call, actually, saw kind of the cones going up, the lines going in. I did call in asking, hey, what's going on? Wasn't really able to get an answer other than we think it's TDS. And that was kind of what I was able to glean. Guess expectations were tower's going to go up, it's going to get cleaned, at least, presentable, but still, there were sort of piles of dirt around where the tower went in. I guess looking forward, obviously, what can we do, if anything, in our neighborhood, but how do we prepare as a village other neighborhoods who are coming next, that they either know, are asked, have an opportunity to make some changes moving forward, and have an option not, to have the same experience that we had, and obviously, how do we resolve what's happened on Forreston and Arbory Court?
Thank you. We have one more, Cynthia Nelson.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Kelm-Nelson. I live at 233 Forreston Drive, and I'm just here to express some of my concerns over the TDS installation that's occurring in our neighborhood right now. So I feel like I've received no notification from the village. I have not received notification that this was happening from TDS. Instead, I've only received marketing from TDS, and that was quite a while ago. We did have significant damage to our front yards. This is where they've been putting their installation boxes. I feel like they either need to be buried or they need to be put back where the other utilities are, and I know that there's easements that they could have used. I feel like this was a very sloppy job. The towers are crooked. They have left piles of dirt everywhere, and our installation actually happened before all of our crazy snowfall, and I did talk to the installers that were doing it. They said that this is it, that they're not planning on coming back. And then I did want to also mention that a lot of us have electric dog fences, and I know that they've cut these fences and then they've repaired them, according to the installer that I talked to. And I know that this compromises our electric fences, so there was some damage there as well. I just feel like there was no oversight over this project or notification to us, and I'm hoping that there's a lot more follow-up and discussion that happens. Thank you.
I think that's everybody we had on the TDS subject. Again, this is a one-way communication. It's actually not on the agenda, but that's why we have the public input section, and we have everybody's name and address, and I'll make sure that you all get a response back, and we'll look into this. I've been taking notes. Your concerns look like plans and permits, the cost, the front yard versus backyard, flush pedestal versus the towers, or whatever you want to call them, and then the cleanup and installation not being complete and things like that. So,
Jack, a suggestion maybe after the minutes are approved, we can move JJ's report up.
Okay.
He was planning, he had a couple comments.
sure. The Public Works Director usually gives a report. Yes, sir.
Just one other thing on the cleanup that I wanted to mention is that, if they think they're just gonna come in and throw a seat on top of what they've dug up, that's not gonna work, because they've gone down, they've dug up all the clay and rock, and it's just a mess right now of clay clumps and rock, and grass is never gonna grow. They're gonna have to remove some of that, put topsoil down at the very least if they're gonna seed any of those areas. But they really should sod so we don't have to wait for, the whole summer for our yards to look good again.
Just for Mr. Hanson, I did get your call. I was out last week sick, and I would never ignore you. I might disagree with you, but, so I'll give you a call.
So, Lee, in discussion, I truly believe the village is in breach of that contract with TDS currently. And that contract exists. This contract is the mobile service facility agreement that you guys approved November 18th or whatever by the time with STC Communication. And that exists out there currently, and I think there's a great deal of liability or legalities right now that rests because TDS is in the village without true authorization because of that breach.
Larry?
Will this be an agenda topic next week or
We could put it on a future agenda item, but normally at the end of the meeting, our Public Works Director has an update anyway, but, so you all don't have to stay for the whole meeting. We can move his agenda item up because he can address some of your concerns right away, so you won't have to stick around for the whole 2 hours, whatever the meeting is.
Unless you want.
Yeah, if you want to.
I also wanted to point out too, it's not just sod we're talking about here. I have a substantial landscaping project on one corner of my property that's been damaged. I mean, it's not significant damages to the stones, but I walked in there, there's stone chips on there. You can't make good on that. But they went well over the landscaping edging that's in there, and that stuff was in there when I purchased the property. So it's not just a matter of coming in and throwing seed. They've killed plantings as well. And in some spots, may even have changed a little bit of the slowing down of my yard. Because I already have spots where it kind of goes like this, and I get a little bit of water pooling in it, but it's manageable. But I mean, now I don't even know what they did because, like I said, I went on vacation, came back, and here it is, big hole in your yard. And I've got it on 3 sides, not just the front. Because I'm on a corner lot. So when they went down Aubrey, I got it on the back corner of my lot too, where they dropped their big machine.
Which corner?
I'm on 303. So when you come into Forreston, I'm the first. If you were looking down Aubrey, I'm the one on the right.
I noticed they put one of those flush ones in the corner there.
So he told me that is because that's a splice point, and the reason that they can't put these vaults in where the services go is because the electronics in there would get wet.
It's not waterproof. I don't know whether they have their Jeff came last time.
That's what he told me. I talked to Zeke multiple times. I said, this could all be squashed right now if you just pony up the extra dough, or even come to me and say, hey, this thing's going to be $350. We budgeted for $100. You willing to throw in $250 to have this thing out? I probably would have done it. Because that's how bad I don't want it. I'm willing to work with you here, but I'm being just told I can do whatever I want because I'm within the easement. So, and that's when I got upset. So, I'm willing to work with you, but it's got to be within reason.
All right.
One thing, sir.
Yes.
Another thing they do is, last week.
Sir, if you want to speak, you cannot, please come up here and we'll need a sheet filled out so we have your name.
My name is Lennon Devane. I live at 100 Arbery Court. Last week, they had a huge trailer parked right in front of my driveway all across. I couldn't get out. I had to go hunt them down to move the truck so I could get out. And so, I mean, they should at least, if they're going to park in front of your driveway, they should let you know if this is happening. I mean, somebody could, need an ambulance or something, or who knows what, and they can't get in there because this is blocked. So I had to hunt them down. So they at least need to let people know of that, I think. So, plus all the other concerns that the other folks had. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. We have to approve our minutes from the previous board meeting, and then JJ, if you want to do your report right away, then these folks don't have to hang around. So. All right, item 5 is discuss and consider minutes of the regular village board meeting of February 4th, 2019. Any additions, corrections?
Yeah, a couple. Number 9, under unfinished business, the vote was 610, not 7. And under Jack's report, it's 610 also. From my recollection, there's only
Probably.
There's a ghost from a past trustee lurking around.
If not, I'll make a motion to approve with Melissa's correction.
Second.
Motion and second to approve with Melissa's correction. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. All right, JJ, if you want to come on up here, and for those of you that don't know, this is JJ Larson, our Director of Public Works.
No pressure. Well, I don't have a whole lot more information other than I got a call this afternoon and TDS is going to meet later this week. I've got to send them a day and time that works, but they're 3 individuals are willing to meet later this week, and they said their schedules are wide open. So after this, I'm going to shoot them some times. Broadly, I suppose, piecing together things we've had at our building and over here at Village Hall, it does look like the utility easements are in the front along that west side of Forreston and into and around Arbery Court, and they are a 6-foot easement. I'm going to be taking a field trip down to City County Building and digging up the entire thing, the official documents, and confirming that. But it looks like the easements that are in the back are, besides the stormwater and the sanitary, where the utilities are may not necessarily be in easements or in continuous easements like they typically are in our newer development. But I have to confirm that, and once I do, I'll be sending a memo with what I find to the entire board, and we can go from there once I've confirmed that information. But at this point, it looks like that's going to be the case, but I want to have it all with the official documents. So the meeting, I believe the primary point of discussion is the pedestals in the front.
Okay.
I'm assuming TDS did all their homework and has all those documents and knows that they're in those easements and that they didn't have an option. So we're going to discuss options there. The questions I've posed for them to take higher are basically what can we do to work on this. So
The easements are working and already existed. We didn't create those.
Right.
Or grant them access. They have access by right. So that's not true.
But at this point right now, the project, they're not doing anything, right?
no, they're still working
Are they-
over in, yep, just down the,
You know,
yeah, yep. Yep.
Okay.
Because I noticed those when I drove through there, they're in the front, like there's pedestals in the front.
There are in there, yeah, there's easements basically through the back, but then they do come through between lots and certain times. And that's what I think, that'll be a point of discussion with TDS, because in other neighborhoods, it won't be like this, all in the front, but there are gonna be parts where there will be in the front, so.
Right. The one question, I guess, for TDS is if there's easements in back, do they have the choice that they can put it in back if they wanted to, or are they obligated?
They've been, looking back at what they've done and what they've got, they do it when they can.
Okay.
When it makes, like I said, I don't know much about or anything about a fiber optic network, but I assume it's, similar to any utility. When they can, they have been,
Okay.
with different kind of crossings and connections, because it's got to all be one. But so
Right.
there are boxes that have been placed in the front in other areas of the village, but nothing like there is along that west side of Forest.
Okay.
JJ, can I ask you a question? Let's take somebody's typical house here and pick an address. Are all the utility easements in the front and the side? Are there any in the back?
There are utilities in the back. What I'm going to try and dig out is whether those are, according to, again, I've gotten word from TDS, and I want to confirm that basically those were kind of, I believe what he used was handshake deal type of, let's put this power in before, and then they built it up. I know we have our stormwater and sanitary easements, so I want to make sure what they're telling me is the case. But it does appear that there is a utility easement, there is one in the front and around basically Arbery. Whether they had an option or not is what I need to make sure they're not blowing smoke.
Is
And would
that
they-
6-foot easement off the curb or off the sidewalk?
I'm going to have to go out and confirm that. I don't want to answer anything that I don't know.
I can tell you what it is if you want to know. Because I was down in Dane County and I have a map that shows it. In Arbery, in the circle that we have, it's a 60-foot radius. The radius in the curb is 40. So they go 26 feet up our driveways if they want to. Seems like a lot.
So the concerns that you heard tonight, I mean, if you could relay that to the TDS people, and then I'd like to get, so we can respond to these folks.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Okay, unfinished business. Discuss and consider board direction for staff and committees and commissions for future action regarding Shady Grove. Mr. Proctor, I guess that's you.
Good evening. I got a little bit of a cold, so I'll try to do my best. As you guys know, this has been going on for a couple of years now, and I feel like we made some really good progress. A few months ago, we reached out to Trustee Russell and wanted to try to get together and see if there was some sort of common ground that could be met between the neighborhoods and some of the people that had concerns and the village and so forth. And we worked on making a number of changes to the plat as part of looking for approval of a rezoning. As you know, the village scheduled a neighborhood meeting to take more feedback. There was a number of trustees there. So I think a lot of them understand it, and Trustee Russell mediated it, or kind of facilitated it, I guess is a better word, to get through a number of issues, and I feel like we made a lot of progress. I felt like a lot of people were happy with the direction of it. And kind of coming in tonight to kind of finalize that direction, I understand that Trustee Russell broke his ankle or sprained his ankle very badly, and unfortunately he's not.
Right here.
Unfortunately, only his phone is here, or a phone is here, and I hope, John, you feel better. But there was a large number of notes taken, and I believe some consensus, and kind of just here to get direction from the board as to those issues. The big issues being that we would have Bus Road go through. We would redraw it to swing kind of as far around the trees as viable. We haven't figured that out yet, but we had a drawing, and a number of comments wanted how it was drawn to push it out further, and so we're looking at pushing it out further that way. Fundamental then would not run through, would not be a through street anymore. And I'm going off memory, we discussed fixing the east side lots a little bit to make them blend in a little bit better with the neighboring subdivision. We'd be willing to work on that a little bit and try as best we can. And then there's always been the issue about the park, which is really a difficult issue, because what some of the neighbors want and what the park commissioner wants and a lot of the park commissions want are two different things. So we're looking for direction to kind of, for the next step. You know, we really tried to operate in good faith and would like to get a product that we could get a unanimous approval on. And, you know, in a compromise, nobody's ever 100% happy, but I think we're pretty close to at least people feeling as if the process reached a result. So.
Okay. All right. I mean, from the looks of these notes, a lot of progress was made, and I guess as far as the park is concerned, I think Parks Committee came up with what they wanted. We tried to follow that. I'm not sure we need to tweak that anymore, but I'm open to suggestions.
Could I just ask a question of the board? Because I think I know what Robert's asking for, and that is, at some point, he and his clients have to resubmit to Plan Commission and the village board. And so it's kind of like, well, what is it that we're supposed to submit? So I think that that would be the thing that I think as a board we need to give him direction on, because I don't think it's fair to just have him guess at what you'll accept or not accept. You don't have to, you can't be tied down on anything, but you could at least say, yeah, I like that idea, or I don't like this idea. So I think that's what we're looking for.
Well, it's kind of on Troy and John to try to get some input, because you guys were the no ones. Yeah, it was there. Yeah. I mean, so that so that you can give them some direction on what it would take you to get to a yes, right?
The one thing I noticed in the notes is I felt like there was a consensus to preserve the woods as much as possible. I don't see that in the notes at all. The other thing was, it says in the notes that there's a consensus that the trees are mostly deadwoods and scrubs, and I guess I remember Mr. Proctor saying something to that nature, but I don't remember that there's a group consensus that the woods is deadwood and scrub trees.
I remember Mr. Fonger indicating such.
Yeah.
Well, I am not in favor of having the woods be parkland, so I'll put that right up there.
In other words, stick with what was agreed on.
Yes.
Absolutely, that's where I'm at with it.
Me too.
I don't, otherwise we're just reinventing the wheel again.
We already have a park in the village that is woods, that people don't go to necessarily, and it is safer for kids to go walk in, because it's a wide street, West Oak Street, where people can park, and there's not houses right across from the park, so kids don't just run across, and it's not a busy street.
Can we get to school first?
Right. And it costs our Parks Department at least $2,000 a year to clean out those woods from, to keep up the trails and to get rid of the shrubs and brush that fall. So I don't see what the benefit is from going from a Todd-sized park at Shady Grove and getting money in lieu of that we can use to fix our other parks or to enhance our other parks, to go to a wooded walk area that is cut off from the rest of the village, that won't have parking, that isn't safe for kids, and doesn't supply a play place for kids in the neighborhood. I just don't see the benefit for village residents.
As far as the trees, I think the original proposal said that anything 18 inches in diameter, you were going to get consult with JJ.
Yeah, so on the trees, I think, and it's tough to take notes. There's a lot going on. I think that the point is there are some nice trees in there. There is also scrub trees and dead trees in there.
Sure.
I don't know what it would look like exactly. I think if I said it, then it's mostly, I wouldn't say it's mostly. I don't know what mostly is. There's a combination of trees in there, and we are going to try to preserve as many of the trees as we can because they are a good feature, the good trees. And the ones we would clean out, I think, would be the ones that everybody would clean out, which would be scrub trees and dead trees. What the ratio is, I have no idea. It's fair to say. I would agree there's no consensus on whether it's mostly, a little less than mostly, a lot less than mostly. You'd have to go out there and take a walk.
Yeah, as a developer, it's to your advantage to preserve the trees because you're going to get a better price.
Yeah, we'll definitely try as hard as we can to preserve the trees and as much as possible. And we did agree to swing the road out in such a way as to try to preserve as many trees as possible. And so I would expect when we redraw it, we're going to push it out further than what was shown. The drawing that we had was the placement of the road drawn by the village's engineer, but before it sounds like I throw him under the bus. It wasn't he wasn't drawing it to try to please everybody. He was like saying he could see it going this way, and here's kind of my understanding, kind of the curve that you would use. So we'll see how far we can push it over to make it work. Preserve as many trees. I thought there was a consensus on West Road for that. I thought there was a consensus on trying to work on those east lots to lessen the impact on the neighboring subdivision. I thought there was although we're not coming back with the front, on the front lots that border Cottage Grove Road, I thought that there was a consensus that people would like to see some sort of owner-occupied, kind of blending into a mixed use with some sort of commercial on the big one that looked like was consistent with the architecture of 1855, could be mixed use, just kind of, but all those were kind of spitballing ideas where we were kind of getting on the same page, but that would be later. And we thought, I'm trying to think of, and then there was the park issue, but So what we would like to do is that if those are kind of the consensus issues, is, you know, we've talked about this, we spend a lot of money when we do the redrawing, and then we also spend a lot of money paying the village's engineers to watch it, to draw it too. So what we were hoping to do is get a good feeling about where the road would go and the lots would look, and the kind of changing it around from the direction here, come back with a preliminary plat drawing and get our rezoning on the single family conditioned on the what the drawing coming back in materially the same condition, the preliminary and the final plat. Because that will take quite a bit of money to finalize all of the engineering and stuff, but we can get it to for purposes of everybody, a map where they'll see where the road is and where the lots are, but we don't want to do all the cross sections for the public, you know, because when you move the road like that, when it goes to committee, they have to see all the cross sections. You know, they have to see all the engineering that goes into that road. So we don't want to spend all that money if we're going to come back and then lose on the, have the rezoning turned down. So we'd like to draw the map where everything will be, have the rezoning conditioned on the going back through. So that's what we were looking for. And we were going to start drawing it now, but and John Russell, and I think it was a good point, said, well, don't draw anything till you have this meeting and you there's a consensus on, yep, that's what you should draw.
Is that an acceptable process that he just outlined, or?
I mean, it's basically bringing a concept.
Yep.
Yeah.
The drawing without the engineering is a concept.
Yes. But, and then the rezone being conditioned, if for some reason that concept plan, we would understand that we don't get to come back and have the concept plan not met.
Yeah, the final plan.
It would be a condition.
That has to come before the preliminary plot then.
Yes.
Yeah. And as far, my main concern is that intersection, and I guess if you can do it within Mike's constraints of engineering to make it a safe intersection, that's my main concern. The rest of the stuff I think is workable.
Yeah. Bus road is main thoroughfare.
If the woodlands aren't a park, then what becomes of the woodlands?
I have to look. I would assume that there would be houses there, that was always the idea to have wooded houses, houses with preserving as much woods as possible.
Those would be attractive lots, I think.
Yeah. I think so.
It's not a park.
John, if I may ask, when the first...
Which John?
You. When the first plat came through, the preliminary plat went to Public Works and Properties for approval of the streets. You approved it then. What changed?
I don't think I was on Public Works.
You were.
Was I?
September of 2017.
I think I was brand new. I didn't even know what was going on with that, because I think I just got on that committee. My issue with this is all along is, again, combining to our comprehensive plan and ultimately having roads that handle traffic, particularly with knowing that someday Bus Road area to Gaston will be developed. And the way this plat has been laid out thus far has been Fundamental Way is the main traffic flow. If you end up having to put lights there, it's going to be very difficult with Damascus set of lights. On top of that, you're going to have to put lights at Bus Road because of the traffic. So that's at least 750,000. If we don't have Fundamental Way as a main thoroughfare and we have Damascus, it's only one-shot deal.
Mm-hmm.
The other concern I have was the original plot had duplexes all along the front, and duplexes that were not in the homeowners association, which means that they can be duplexes that aren't owner occupied. They've come back and rightfully so said, no, we're going to look at a product that is owner occupied, which is great. Because if you look at the duplexes in our village that are not owner occupied, it's very inconsistent as far as how they look. This is going to be the gateway into Cottage Grove because Madison is at Vilas and Vilas Hope. That's where their line's drawn. So that will probably where we end up.
But you talk about the gateway coming into Cottage Grove, but if you go up between Vilas and Vilas Hope, and you look to the right, don't talk to me about gateways. Because you got a car lot, you got a building with a bunch of buildings, you got a couple of houses with no siding on it.
It's not in our village.
Yeah, true. But I'm just saying, if we're going to use that argument as the gateway to Cottage Grove, what about that?
We don't have jurisdiction over that. So I'm not worried about that. I mean, I'm worried about it because it does look horrible. But this is what we have to.
It still doesn't negate the fact that the preliminary plat and the final plats were approved.
I voted against both of those.
I think you abstained against
One,
for
okay,
some
so what?
reason. Why would you abstain?
Because again, at that point, I didn't have enough information. I've always been against this because of the traffic flows.
But you approved it at the Public Works and you were new, but at that same one, you voted against the budget to add an extra foreman to maintain our roads, which would have helped decrease our taxes because maintenance is less than redoing them. So you voted against the budget proposal, but you didn't against the Shady Grove plat.
So ultimately, this is about the safety, I think, of citizens. And if we have a light, which is going to have to be at Bus Road eventually, through traffic studies or whatever, that is the best spot for it. So that's my gig.
However, if you, with Fundamental Way, if that were to go through, because the school has to come to us, and Fundamental Way goes from the school property to Cottage Grove Road. And then if it keeps going through the Lilac, let's just say that doesn't become the main street and Damascus doesn't. And so then traffic lights get put there and taken off of Damascus, which the town.
No, they will never take those down from Damascus. The school is going to run all their buses through Damascus. They're already planned on running them through, somehow through the GDS. It makes the most sense for the schools to have buses only flowing through one intersection.
Right,
That's their plan.
So who's to say it doesn't go through Fundamental Way? How do you know that's the plan? They haven't come here yet.
That's my understanding. That's what I've heard.
They haven't come here. Who's to say that can't change?
So,
I mean, we're changing.
Melissa, we're going to have then two sets of lights again.
You can take them off of Damascus Way, which the town doesn't like them there anyway because they might go through Damascus Trail through the town area. So if you get lights at Fundamental Way instead, then it's controlled.
Again, there's still an expense that you don't have to incur. Plus, on top of the fact, I'm still concerned about the separation here. And eventually, there's going to be a lot of traffic on Bus Road because of the school, because of potentially athletic fields or whatever else is developed along Bus Road all the way
That all
through.
changes once the school is.
We don't know what that's going to be. I'm just saying that the comprehensive plan had a thoroughfare through Bus Road. Let's just follow it. It makes a lot of sense and it doesn't cost us any additional money. You start messing around with Fundamental Way and the closeness and the proximity of Damascus. I haven't seen any place ever take out a set of lights myself.
The other thing is in our comp plan, it has the 3 streets going into the school lot now. So.
Yeah, they're going to have to fix that.
Right, but that's what our comp plan says, and we're supposed to follow our comp plan to the letter. So.
No, see, now we're kind of splitting hairs here about the comp plan and what we're doing.
You want Bus Road to go right through just like it's.
Bus Road's a main thoroughfare. It's going to be a main north-south thoroughfare because it's going to go all the way to Gaston. The village is expected to go all the way up to at least Gaston. We're going to get the school coming in with their 40-plus acres, whatever they come in. Hamburg's probably going to come in with something at that point, too. That's where it's going to be.
That's what the comprehensive plan says today,
Yeah.
is that Bus Road is going to be a thoroughfare. And if we want to change the comprehensive plan, he needs to take a step back until we change the comprehensive plan. We're supposed to be following that.
Yeah, it's a guideline. It's not like you have to have Bus Road look exactly like it does on our comp plan. It's just an idea that a road will go through. And if Bus Road is the main street, then you have more traffic going on Bus Road in the town property, which ruins their roads, we're told. So, I mean, why aren't we looking at different options to help the town out here?
I guess I'm not following how that helps the town out at all.
Because then our people aren't on town roads, like, because on the town, on Bus Road, town property is on one side and it's village property on the other. That's how it's gonna be. If the school comes here with a plan that the entrance isn't off of Bus Road, that it's a different area, then Bus Road isn't gonna be as busy.
So are you suggesting we wait until we find out where the entrance for the school is to decide which road we're going to do?
these guys can't wait.
No, because this is.
Well,
that's not fair to them.
That's separate from this.
Well, that's
We're only
not-
talking
that's not fair to them.
We're not talking contingencies down the road, exactly what's gonna happen. You can't just hold these guys hostage.
Well, that's the whole
because
point I'm making, is that it's not fair to them.
Right.
And you're currently good with the bus road concept that you talked about going south?
You can do bus road.
Okay.
So why, so your whole thing this whole time has just been to have Bus Road go through?
Yeah. That not have.
Not Park, not
I
Woodlands,
don't- I'm-
not,
I mean, those are concerns, but, you know, you want the place to look nice, but at the end of the day, I want kids to be safe. This is about kids being safe to me.
do you think the park, the Woodlands being a park on one side and houses on the other is
I
safe
don't,
for
I don't care
kids?
about the park being wherever. The park's gotta be where it's gonna be. What I care about is Bus Road, I've said that. I also care about the way that looks when you come in, and having a bunch of duplexes that aren't kept up. The developers agreed to both. I'm good. So
In my opinion, I think the logical place for the park is the woods. You preserve the trees, everything, but, you know, and maintenance-wise, what's going to cost more money to maintain community park or to maintain a woods that you have 3 trails going through it?
That's another one, I don't like to answer things, I'd have to talk with our forester, and I can get back to you.
And we've got Oaken Gate Park, which it looks like you go through once a year and trim some trees, and you're not mowing it twice a week, you're not having to do any sidewalks, nothing.
I believe Oaken Gate has some issues that we're going to try and address this year, though, too, I'd have to.
Yeah, and again, you're not prepared, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Judy. I'm just saying that logic would tell me that when you're, have a park of the same size and you're mowing the grass, you're maintaining ball diamonds and all that stuff, it costs a lot more money than going through once or twice a year and trimming some trees and that kind of thing. But that's my opinion.
So we aren't having a 5-acre park, we just want a top lot, so it's smaller and we get money in lieu of.
Well, the woods, to me, it looks like it's closer to 5 acres. Comprehensive plan said it should be 5 to 7 acres.
Fine, but it's still, we get money in lieu of park space with the top lot. Do you not want money to
We
fix
don't
our
get
other
that
parks?
much, we don't get that much money. We don't get, if we're, like, let's say we wanted a 10-acre park, we gotta pay a lot more. It's just the way our ordinance is written. We don't get that much money.
So then what was the
Sean,
reason
like-
for you and
You
Parks
know,
saying, go ahead and do
Yeah,
this?
I was kind of in that same position. I think we had reviewed this in May, and I just started with board and the Parks Committee. You know, we had a lot of expenditures that we had in front of us, and we thought, do we want to put a lot of money and a lot of resources into a big park? And the thought was, no. Let's, what we had in front of us was a lot that we could, or a small park that we could put a piece of playground equipment on and move on. And that's the way it was kind of discussed, and that's the direction it went.
So is that
We never
still-
discussed the idea of grabbing or asking them to give us some of the woods. That was never discussed at all.
So that's still the position of the Parks Committee?
You know, I don't know if I haven't taken their temperature, so I don't know. I just kept them informed that that this is completely up in the air. Most of them knew that anyway. Jennifer's pretty familiar with everything. So, but anyway, yeah, that was the reasoning, I guess, in May of 2017, and.
But the committee members weren't new. They knew what they were voting on.
Yes, they did, yeah.
And that's what they wanted, so you
Well,
might have been new, but
right.
they voted to
Yeah.
the top lot.
That's
Just the
correct.
fact, too, we started with the 5-acre lot. I mean, the 5-acre park.
Right, I never saw that.
That was on the concept.
That was before I started,
That was on it
yeah.
all. And they came back and said they wanted the fee, and the fee in lieu of, my understanding, is around $85,000. So I don't think it's, I mean.
Yeah, it costs about $50,000 to build playground eququipment.
Oh, yeah,
So it
that
doesn't,
makes
I mean,
sense.
it's not, it's money, but it's not, I mean, if we were buying 5 acres from you, we wouldn't be able to get it for $85,000 though, right?
Depends which 5
Yeah.
acres.
Right, and one of the things, that tot lot is adjacent to that stormwater area, so
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a lot more green space than
Correct.
is
the acreage. So they're, granted, it's not usable because it's water retention area, right?
Well, I don't believe it's not a standing wet pond.
No.
I mean, so it's.
No, it's green
gonna be-
space, so,
but-
yeah.
Yeah, so it will be, it's, I don't want to misstate it, it's.
Couple
If there's a
acres.
huge rainstorm, it will
Yeah.
be wet. If
Right.
there's, but other than that, it'll be, you know, usable. But it's not it's not a park.
It's going to make the park
Yeah.
seem bigger,
Correct.
but, yeah.
Do you know when you guys decided at the committee, Jim, was there any discussion about what the comprehensive plan says it needs to be?
No, because, yeah, I mean, you can, and we've discussed this with Lee, we are allowed to, or the Parks Committee is allowed to decide the needs of the park system as a whole and isolate it. And I think we've discussed this, that, you know, if they felt really strongly that you wanted to have a 5-acre park because it would help you sell the lots much easier, maybe the Parks Committee would be open to that, but they were fine with the smaller park, I guess. I wasn't there when the 5 to 7 acres was proposed, but that's, I guess
We
that's
would have
what they
given a
said.
5-acre park.
Yeah.
We've always said it.
Sure.
I can tell you, I've done Ice Age trails. I told people this story. We have an Ice Age trail in one of our subdivisions that doesn't really have a lot of access to it. And we asked them what was their estimate of people that are going to use it. Said 1 to 3 people a month, maybe. It's fine if people want a 5-acre park. I think people need to be more realistic about how much a 5-acre park in a closed subdivision, if you will, is going to get used from people outside of it when you have other parks.
And when we're not going to put a lot of resources into it to build
No.
stuff on
I mean,
it, no.
when people go, if somebody wants to go for a long walk on a nice wooded area, there's lots of places they can go to for long walks. This would be somebody in the area just kind of walking back, coming back. But, I mean, again, I can tell you what I think. We've said, I don't think a small park is inconsistent with the comp plan, the way comp plans are. You know, they can't contradict the comp plan, but everybody knows when you draw a comp plan that it's a sketch. Otherwise, you wouldn't have put a road through a graveyard. And so, but it's still, we need direction that people can live with. I think the top lot's the best, but we'll put a 5-acre lot in it. We're not looking to take advantage of the village at all.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the wooded one is it would be a difficult one, but that's, you know, we can stick 5 acres somewhere in there.
The Parks Committee was only a recommendation to the board. So they didn't decide anything.
But we need like
I'll
a
go back.
consensus, you know, I don't want to redraw this over. I mean, we've drawn this so many times now.
Again, I want to go back to, we went through a long discussion about having a separate meeting, and he had it. And there was a lot of discussion, and you're trying to incorporate that discussion, and I think that now it's to the board, and the board needs to say, well, okay, we saw what people said at this meeting, and developer, here's our thoughts, and then he's got some direction. But I think that we do owe that to him.
Of course. You know, do you have the concept with the 5-acre park in it? Is that something I've never seen? Has anybody else on the board seen?
Well, the first concept that came in front of the board before there was a preliminary plat, the concept plan had it on there. I don't expect you to remember it, and I don't know who was on the board that in 2016. But it was basically where the existing top lot is. It was just a 5-acre one. It was just a bigger one.
Do we have that, Matt?
Somewhere.
Sure we do
I mean, I can get it, but.
But, you know, what goes to the Parks Committee, and they didn't want that, and that was just kind of.
And I
And
think
then the board didn't,
Jumper-
the board approved the recommendation from Parks.
Yeah.
The other concern with the woods, keeping them that way, is they aren't all on the Shady Grove lot. So then, do we put up a fence in between that property and who's ever to the west? Is that the Fongers? Do we put up a fence so that people don't go onto his property? I mean, what do we do if we keep it parked? I mean, I don't think they want us, village, or anybody traipsing on their land.
I think it's up to them to put up a fence if they want a fence.
I know the owner has a shotgun.
Oh, it's already a fence?
Yeah.
There you go.
So, I mean, personally, I'm fine with sticking with the park that you had on the previous iteration, the tot lot, or whatever you wanted to call it, because that's the recommendation of the Parks Committee, and if you're still okay with the 18-inch tree restriction or whatever. as
Yeah,
far
there's
as-
the deed,
Yeah.
the covenants have a very, and they'll get revisited because they've been tentatively approved, but they haven't been signed by anybody. So
Right.
I guess they've been actually approved in form.
And then running Bus Road south, like John was talking about, and just
Yeah.
making sure that intersection is safe within constraints of engineering, that's, I think, everybody can get their mind around that.
And we discussed a little bit at the meeting about you are putting a sidewalk along just the front of your, right?
Correct, that's as far as we can put it. We don't own the other land, but it will be there for other.
Well, there were discussions at that meeting about, you know, bike trail going all the way down.
Well, I believe the right-of-way that we dedicate for the village, and to get it confirmed, would, Aaron, conclude for the bike path. And then along Bus Road, there will be a bike path also. So it will dead end, obviously, with the road, but it will be available for when things develop for the bike paths to continue.
Okay. Anything else?
And we've taken, we're dead set on just doing single-family homes right now, not multifamily or anything like that.
Yeah, we want to just rezone the single family and then come back kind of on a use-by-use basis when we find a user. As we said, I mean, I think we've got some pretty clear direction as to people's feelings. I mean, we wouldn't foreclose anything. I assume everybody at the board would say the same thing. Somebody could come with something that once you see it and it's drawn, that they would say, this is what we want to do. Somebody might say, wow, I never thought of that. But generally, our thought is to start with, try to, as we're to the east, be owner occupied, and as you move further to the bigger piece, that would be mixed use commercial potentially. And, you know, and some, maybe a transition in there, there could be something that was a rental, but it would obviously be something that'd have to come through here, so.
So when we see the concept plan, that won't include the front end,
No,
really
that would
long
be-
Cottage Grove Road?
No, that will
be
remain-
at all. It'll strictly be the single-family residential.
Right.
Correct.
That would be a
And
whole
you'll see
separate
that prior
public
to
hearing and meeting.
preliminary plat and all that. then.
Yeah, so that would have to come back, and that would be, what is the trend, I don't know what it's zoned right now. But it, rural holding, so it will remain rural holding, it has to come, so our plan is when we have a use to come back and ask for a rezone at that time. You know, so let's say the big property, we find somebody who wants to do some sort of restaurant, let's just making it up with something on top. We would then come back for the bigger one, that lot, and say we need to get it rezoned to whatever the zoning classification that allows for it. And here's the, you know, here's the drawing, and here are the uses, and here's the developer that's gonna do it. So that's our idea, because it's really hard to say to people like, what, you know, it's true, I mean, it's a duplex. There's a lot of types of duplexes.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, so we're okay with coming back once we know what exactly that would be.
And what would you do to maintain that property until that happens?
Well, we'll own it, so, and we need to make it look nice, so we will have a monument sign for Shady Grove up there, and I'm sure it'll be landscaped to the point where, these are gonna be somewhat expensive lots, so, I mean, and we can always add some sort of condition as to that, but it's in our best interest to take care of it, so I can't see of any condition that would be put on us that we wouldn't be okay with, you know, because we have to sell all those lots. My guess is it'll take some time to develop the front. Even if you rezoned it today and said, do whatever you want, it's not gonna be overnight. So,
I think the single family will attract something there, that you'll be able to.
that's the hope.
Yeah, that's what I would expect.
Okay. Does that kind of clear the waters a little bit?
I think so.
I want to thank you for your patience and persistence. I know you've gone above and beyond with doing some of this.
We need to do a motion since it's a discuss and consider.
Well, we're directing the board, not the developer, right?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what we're going to discuss. I mean, we've certainly discussed. I'm not quite sure what the motion would involve other than a discussion of those notes and of the meeting and the developer saying that or the developer's counsel is saying that he's gotten the direction that he needs. So I don't think we have to really do anything else.
I guess the proof will be in the pudding when we see the concept plan then.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, discuss and consider rescheduling joint meeting. Last time we were talking about the 28th, which is also our town forum, or our candidate forum, sorry. The email from Kim at the town offered also March 5th, which is...
When I talked to Chris Hampton, he was okay with the 28th.
Okay. I was just thinking about our candidate forum over there. That's the only conflict. We're having a candidate forum for trustees. Otherwise, I'm fine with the 28th too, but
Yeah, I forgot about that.
we don't want to preempt that, so.
Because they couldn't do it at the school, that's right.
Yeah. Does March 5th work for at least a forum?
February 25th is the only one of those dates that work for me.
Cinco de March.
It works for everybody.
25th.
Unless that.
Yeah, I'm fine with the 25th too. I guess I don't care as long as we can get it.
Yeah, surgery that day, but I won't be here.
I'll write the note. Okay. So I can get back to them and say the 25th or the March 5th? At least get 4 people. 5 people.
I'm sorry, which date was agreed upon?
We're still figuring it out.
The 5th or the 25th of March, potentially, we're going to throw back to the town.
Oh, the 25th, that's the week.
February 25th or March 5th?
Oh, I'm sorry, February 25th.
February 25th.
Oh, February 25th.
I missed
Okay, that's not spring break. I wish it were, but not.
Next Monday.
All right,
No,
I can
2
do
weeks
that.
from
Does that work for you, John?
Have
Russell?
anything?
The 25th?
25th or March 5th?
Yeah, I think they all work for me except for the 28th.
Okay.
25th, that's fine.
All right, 25th, okay?
So that's next Monday then? Just, right?
Yeah.
As long as you post it by Friday, you're good.
Yep.
And as long as, obviously, the town.
Okay, I can let her know the 25th, and we're doing it here at 6:30. Sure, I'll make a motion that we schedule our joint meeting with the town for here at 6:30 on the 25th. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain.
Okay, 1 abstention. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving along. Discuss and consider direction to staff regarding Ruta Bush contract expiring April 30th, 2019. You've got a couple of documents in the packet there. You have somebody from Ruta Bush here? Okay.
Yes,
Thought we did.
here.
Tom Phillips is here.
Yeah.
You guys have questions for him?
Oh,
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
I just wanted people to understand that the Commerce Park was purchased in 2003. And then it was originally marketed, and then, well, actually, there was some talk of the village board doing the marketing and the selling. That was not
Because
actively
we all have
pursued.
realtors license.
Then we put out on our RFP, and the Bledner Company was awarded it, and they went, they received it in 2003, and in 2009, 2010, we couldn't get hold of anybody from Bledner. It was just, their business had gone in a different direction, and so there was, I can't remember if there was a separate RFP, but then Ruta Bush was awarded the contract, And then that's been renewed once or twice here. So at the time that Rudebush came in, there was really nothing. I mean, so they have kind of created all of the marketing from there. And I just wanted people to understand that that's kind of the background to this.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Is this a 2-year contract then, or what have you got? Maybe
It's been renewed multiple
It just
times.
expires at,
Oh,
on April 30th.
right.
Yeah, I've been happy with them. I think they're a good advocate
Yeah.
for the village.
I think we'd be in a lot worse position without their help.
Do we want to even look at it, putting this out for RFP?
I don't think it's necessary. but-
I mean, 8% is pretty high from my understanding from talking to some of our other folks that do this, so that's the only thing. I mean,
Well, let's ask,
They don't receive the whole 8%. 4% goes to they get 4% and the buyer's agent gets the other 4%.
what if it were 6, like a standard, and 3 and 3?
We can talk to them about that.
Is that standard for commercial property?
Yeah.
Tom, could you come up?
Yes.
Tom Phillips is here, and I think those are good
I don't know that
questions.
we'd be doing our due diligence without sending out for an RFP at this point.
Well, is the issue just about the percentage they make, or are there other issues that you have?
A little better.
Stupid shenanigans, sorry.
Troy?
Troy.
Hey, side meeting, guys.
Do you just have an issue with the percentage, or are there other issues that you have with Rudebush?
I just don't think, I don't think it would hurt to have a comparative. We might find out that he's doing the best job that anybody could do at the best rate, or we might find out that we don't. Until we have a comparative, we don't know.
Well, if we're just talking about rate, though, that can be deceiving because they've already been invested in this and know it. So somebody else could come in and say they'll do it for cheaper, but not really understand what they're working with. So then that's not beneficial.
You've represented the property since the beginning, right? You
Yeah,
switched
yeah,
companies.
Sure. Well,
Oh, Tom, yeah.
Yeah, you switched from the original company to Rudebush.
so, as far as the, percent commission, yes, on a building sale, a 6% fee is typical market sale, and if it's $5 million or a $10 million sale, maybe a 4 or 5%. On a typical land, especially in Cottage Grove, where you're selling land from $1 to $2 a square foot, the fee is 8 to 10%. They're just, for the amount of marketing effort and dollars to put into selling a $100,000, $200,000 site, piece of dirt, a 6% fee just isn't cost effective for the amount of money and effort that you need to put in to be successful selling a piece of land. And as we found, especially in the Cottage Grove Park, I'm trying to think, frankly, our last 4 sales have been co-broke sales, so we're sharing the fee with the buyer's agent. So Rudebush is getting 4%, the buyer's agent's getting 4%. Their incentive to, the buyer's agent to bring a client to the park for $2,000, $3,000 where they could go somewhere else. It's on the lower end of the spectrum based on the cost of the sale and the list price for the land.
Well, and again, it doesn't hurt to go with RFP. To get comparators. Again, you guys probably are the least expensive, which we'd find that out.
So we've got till the end of
April.
April.
Yeah. And Rudebush might be the least expensive. We had a history with them. But as an organization, we probably ought to do our due diligence just to make sure that's correct. If we don't, then I don't know. I go when I shop around, you got to shop around. Again, we could find that, somebody come in at 7%, but because we may decide that the history and everything, they know the area, that it's worth it for us. We may come back and may come back 10%.
right? You know, that.
We don't know.
The percentage fee is such a small piece of the decision on your part. It's the people backing it, the time and effort in it,
Yeah.
marketing dollars put in, and frankly, you know, how successful is your agent been? Is it better to sign a listing with a broker for 2%, who you don't see a sale for 5 years, or 2 years, or a year, or a broker who has a proven track record with the community, you know, 3-4 sales, great businesses in the last 4 years. From your perspective, that's a lot more important than $1,000 savings on a land sale.
How much is the value left, the list price value of what's left?
How many lots are
Not
left
that,
in these?
there's just a
It's
handful.
probably more, acreage is probably more important to look at, about 18 acres or so.
Yeah, I mean, you have the frontage,
If you look at in your packet, there's a listing of, and this was, there was a bottom put on some of those prices because, you know, we have incentivized, et cetera, and so, just from my perspective, is there an issue with Rudabush that you want to identify so that too can go into the consideration?
I've been here a while and I have never had an issue with it personally.
I'm just wondering about the process for an RFP. Like, it's not like you just send it out to the classifieds and you get people send in their,
No, there's definitely a process, yeah, for.
and how intense is that process?
I call around other municipalities, see what they've done for a similar situation as far as an RFP, and put it out there for a few weeks.
Yeah.
You know, try to have this, see how many we get back. Staff could review them and recommend the top 2 or 3 to the board for interviews. So it could potentially be done by the second meeting in March, first meeting in April.
I don't see the benefit of it, since Rudabush isn't doing anything wrong at this point.
What does it hurt to send an RFP out, I mean, really?
I don't think it hurts
Like I say,
anything.
we might find out you've got the best marketing and the best rate that there is. I hope that's the case, but until we have something to compare it to, we don't know.
Right. But even, you know, to put out an RFP, is the RFP is will you list this and what's your fee? There's so much more to it than that, you know. Qualifications, history, reputation, how much marketing dollars. We spent tens of thousands of dollars marketing a property. The signs alone are $10,000. Is, you know, how motivated is to bring in another firm, you know, 3 to 6 months for them to ramp up their marketing. You know, fortunately, you know, Rudabush has represented the site for so long. We're associated with Cottage Grove. You know, that takes years to develop and a history of success that these outside brokers know to call Tom Phillips, Kyle Adams, Jeff Rudabush if there's something in this area. So, you know, to just, you know, in my opinion, for good RFP, there are many facets of the brokerage model that you would have to look at to determine, you know, which is the best alternative. To look strictly at it, it's a 6 or 8 or a 10% brokerage fee is very short-sighted, in my opinion.
And the message that we could be sending to developers that, Rudabush has been here for so long, but now they haven't done anything wrong, but we're just shopping around just because.
I would feel differently if we were like just starting out with the Commerce Park, about
Yeah.
putting it out for an RFP, but like we're 3/4 of the way across the stream here with getting this thing done. And I'd rather stay with a known entity, I guess is my thought.
How soon do you think we'll be done selling the rest of these properties?
You know, it's a good market. We've had great activity. You know, frankly, we're we're down to a couple sites on the interior of the park, and then frankly, the highway end frontage
Yeah.
is the best land, you know, available in the park.
And everybody's gonna want to be on end.
Right. And, you know, Summit is certainly gonna be a great draw. We've seen increased activity because of the Summit project.
A lot of that has to do with what we're doing as a board, whether more businesses are gonna come here too. If we aren't going to increase our residential capacity, businesses aren't gonna come here either. So it's not all on the seller or on Rutabush to market our land. It's also what we're doing as a board to help market Cottage Grove. So it's not really fair to ask him when he's gonna sell all of our land, because it's based on what we're doing too.
Yeah, but he's the expert.
Well,
That's why you ask him.
Okay.
Right?
What can we do to help you sell our land?
There you go.
There you go. I think bringing in Summit's been huge. You know, I think we've seen, you know, the Godorsey project, you know, the
Grey Wolf.
retail coming in, Grey Wolf, sorry. And the Culvers and the Jimmy John's, you know, the knock with the park was, where do our people go to eat? And, you know, business services, Oakstone, you know, at the volleyball facility. All those things built up mass within the park, and all that's been created. You know, Steel started it, Summit was a big coup. We finally, you know, not that we were involved in the Grey Wolf project, but finally that's on good footing and filling up. All those things build momentum in the park. Not to mention a good 5-year run in the economy. You know, we are seeing more activity than we've ever seen.
The way I kind of look at it too, and tell me if I'm wrong, is you guys have done a great job up there. And now we're coming into the finish line. And then for us to say, you're out of the game.
I agree.
Let somebody else come in and take, that's,
Well, I'm just saying, we have the contract that's due.
yep.
I'm asking the question, should we send this out for RFP? I don't,
But my question to you then will be, what if somebody comes back at?
it's not the percentage. He just said it. It could be somebody, it'd be percentage, and it'd have to be all those other things. They'd have to be reputable, they have to have a track record. There's just a whole host of things. I don't know. Again, probably the best person we have right here.
Yeah.
But you have to ask the question.
We're not doing our job if we don't ask
Yeah.
the question.
Well, I don't know.
And it's great that-
When I look at this relationship, it's not quite arm's length in the sense that, I mean, you could say the same thing about any employee or any contractor within that the village has a relationship with. I mean, for example, you know, the person who does our permits, did we go out and bid that one? I mean, we just renewed the contract with him without going out to bid, right?
We actually created the contract, but.
Yeah, but we
he
didn't
was
have a
our-
contract.
yeah.
We didn't make him bid, we didn't bid it
No.
against other people, and I think it's not a completely arm's length relationship. We've got a relationship with them to the point where I think they provide value of above and beyond. I'd make a motion to renew the contract,
I second that.
For how many years?
whatever's stated in here.
It's 2, isn't it?
It's 2.
It's been typically.
Yeah.
You good with 2, Jim? All right, so we got a motion and a second to extend Rudy Bush's contract for Commerce Park for 2 years. Any other discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Is it 4-2?
Yeah. Well, 5, yeah, I don't know, John. John, I didn't hear you. We didn't hear you.
I don't think he's.
Guy screaming in pain.
Battery died?
Who's clutching the badger?
John?
Right there. He's probably still trying to mute.
Sorry, had it on mute. Can you restate the motion?
So the motion was to carry on with the Rutabush contract for a period of 2 years as it currently in its current form and language.
And how many lots? I apologize. It's really difficult to hear any.
So there's about 20 acres left,
Yeah, there's like 3 lots. But
3 lots.
About 3 lots.
depending on how you split it. So,
Okay, yeah. I vote in favor to extend it for 2 years.
okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. So that's 5, 4-2, okay.
5-2.
5-2. Okay, motion passes 5-2. Thank you.
Thank you for vote of confidence. The one thing I would say is, and brokers are terrible about this, is, you know, we do a lot of things that you aren't aware of. And sometimes it's a good idea to sit down with your client, which you are, and present, here's where we list the property, here's the multiple listing services, here's how we represent the Cottage Grove Commerce Park. And I think, you know, that may be of value to you, because you only see me when there's a deal on the table.
Right.
And there, you know, Kyle Adams, you know, he spends hours on all the projects all the time, getting it out, you know, his involvement in economic development with the state, with the county, with the, you know, all these agencies. You're out there, and I think what happens a lot of times, I'm just, what's the next deal? Where, you know, I think you would be well served to hear exactly, you know, how we do market your park, and we'd be happy to meet, you know.
From a staff point of view too, I just wanted all of you to know that we ask them to do the bulk of the preparation. I mean, you know, if there's drafting or some of those things, that's fine, but I mean, you know, that limits my involvement, that limits the cost, et cetera, and so we've worked out pretty consistent.
Yeah, and again, the only reason we bring this up is it was due and bringing the question up, and so that's the only reason why. What do I do?
If I can ask one more question. You mentioned the money that you spend on marketing the properties. How much do you spend on a monthly or annual basis on just the Village of Cottage Grove Commerce Park?
A lot of it is I could break that down. You know, the easy parts are the signs and the, you know, the advertising and multiple listing services, but a lot of it is we pay dues to Sirens, you know, to these listing services, which it isn't broken down per property. They don't charge you by property. They charge you to be a member, you know, $10,000 a year to be a member of Sirens or other.
And you market your other properties and other communities on the same site though, correct?
They're right. Right.
So you spread that cost over all the communities,
It is,
all
right.
the different properties, not just.
It's not specific Cottage.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, reports from village boards, committees, and commissions, emergency government.
That was canceled for the inclement weather.
Okay. As is community report. Yep, Community Development Authority.
Emergency government was canceled?
Yeah, that's bad, that's bad.
Because of a weather emergency. Because of a snow emergency.
Oh, man, that is surprising.
We didn't want to have an emergency that night, so.
You can get a little finder and find out what's going on. It's off.
Craig drops to 0.
CDA.
CDA, we lucked out on the weather, so we were able to meet on February 11th. Went through, had a nice presentation from Gorman and Company that Jeff arranged. So we got Nicole in and presented on just some different ways to look at more work and balance, or I guess more affordable housing, a mix that they do and the way they kind of approach it. And so very interesting take on from their perspective as a company. So again, another presentation around having more affordable type of housing for workforces. And so that was good. And it certainly, as we look for, you know, aging community as well, people downsizing. So, and again, they're in all those areas and facets with their properties. They've actually got a very nice property going up. I think it's down by Menards in Sun Prairie. I've been by there a few times. Looks very nice. So that's in continuation, I think, with the other presentations that we've had for this board. And I think there was one for Planning Commission too, so good to be informed there. We, again, continued the discussion around the hotel ordinance. And the big part of that is the creation of a tourism commission and the need for that due to state statute. We also talked a little bit about some of the interest that's percolating right now around a hotel. So it's very encouraging at multiple fronts, not only with developers, but I talked to Paula with the Commerce, and she had just had a call from someone also interested in talking about a hotel. So we do have some gaps, and so then whatever we can do through, getting this in place certainly helps and make sure that's up to speed. That was a big part of the meeting right there. We didn't have to have the closed session that was listed on the agenda, and that was pretty much it for CDA.
All right. Public Works and Properties.
Public Works, we did not have a quorum. JJ slept through, Mike slept through, and I slept through the snow, but the rest of the members could not, so we'll just kick this agenda up next month.
Okay. Utility Commission, John Russell, can you hear us?
Yep, Utility Commission met February 13th. If JJ's still there, if I miss anything, obviously feel free to jump in. We discussed item number 4 was the resolution for the Utility Commission to forego payment of advance to PID 6 in the amount of $86,000 in conjunction with a meeting that Matt, Deb, Ellers, and Baker Tilly had. They recommended that we agreed to table this indefinitely due to PID 6 being open and still making some minimal income.
Okay.
Number 5, Baker Tilly recommended to file a simplified rate case with the Public Service Commission for water utility rates, and that simplified rate case was approved at not to exceed 3%. Item number 6, purchase treatment adjustment clause recommendation from Baker Tilly, which the board approved, is no adjustment for 2019. Item number 7, the chair of the Utility Commission actually installed some solar panels in his home a few years ago, and he's been in discussion, informal discussion with members of the board, but he actually received a quote to discuss potential solar panel installation on the municipal services building. The quote's for $110,000 with a 30% incentive or $22,000 coming from Alliant Energy. Really, what we're looking for is board, I wouldn't say consensus, but any sort of direction where possibly we could dig a little bit deeper in the solar panel installation of the municipal services building. It's actually split 3 ways between Public Works, Parks and Rec, and law enforcement. The payoff is 10 to 15 years. You see the cost savings with basically cost savings realized. The quote we received was from Berg Spectrum, kind of a pioneer in the solar industry in the local area. They have over 700 installs with no leaks. The question was asked, how old is the roof on the current building? And it's about 25 years old, but it still passes inspection. And then if the board would be interested, we could possibly get quotes for other buildings that the village owns throughout the village.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone has any questions on that
Anybody?
or comments.
No, we're good.
All right.
Well, I'm just curious, when you say a 10 to 15-year payback, does that include the finance charge of it too, like issuing bonds or whatever, however we borrow the money? Or is it just the cost and the rates?
Question, if we're talking, $110,000 minus the 30% incentive, you're probably looking at a third cost of right around, $70,000 to $75,000, so $25,000 from, the 3 tenants of that building. And, if JJ, Chief Labor, and Sean are in the room, I don't know if that's something that we would have to plan for in the annual budget, or if they have that in their operational budget right now. I guess I wouldn't recommend or foresee us having to borrow that sort of money, but I would defer to the directors that are in the room.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thanks, John.
Good food for thought.
Vouchers got approved, and the next meeting date was scheduled for March 13th at 5 o'clock.
Jack, John, if the direction from the board is to pursue this, whatever, trying to get a contract from the company, a proposed contract, the earlier the better, because I know that some other municipal attorneys I've talked to said that these negotiations can take a while.
Okay, well, that sounds good. I mean, I don't know if, you know, the recommendation of the board is to maybe float it past law enforcement committee, Parks and Rec, get some input from the directors, and then come back to the utility commission, or if you want me to just go ahead and pursue getting more details in that contract, and we'll bring it to the board at the next meeting, or after the next utility commission meeting.
It should probably be discussed at the Public Works and Properties Committee. It would be the proper committee.
Okay.
Got our list?
Okay. All right.
I would invite the person from utility chair to attend those meetings.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, 8D, Plan Commission. I had a last minute conflict, was not able to be here, but I'll let Melissa talk about it if not. There's a discuss and consider a request from Mike and Linda Fonger for an ETJ CSM.
Yeah, it's just basically to make their property into one. Is that what it's
Why did they want to do that? They have a shed that's on a small remnant parcel. They're just combining that with the larger parcel that the house is on.
Okay. They bought from their neighbor, that shed that's right out by BB, that was their neighbor's property.
So rather than going from one lot to two, it's the other way, from 2 to 1, yeah.
Got it, okay.
Any issues with that, Aaron?
No, we recommend approval.
Yeah, we're voting on that because it's close, it's in our
Extraterritorial,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So if we didn't vote for it, what would happen?
You gotta face him at the,
We did better than
you gotta face him at the joint
I mean,
meeting.
but still.
I
mean,
move to approve the request from Michael and Linda Fonger to modify the existing parcels on 2953 Highway BP in the town of Cottage Grove.
A motion and a second to approve the motion for Michael and Linda Fonger. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions?
That's where you were ready for.
Motion
Yeah,
passes.
it's horrible.
A little bit of a lag there, but okay. All right, 8B, discuss and consider request from Sierra Zimprick of Sierra Loca, which is a Mexican restaurant for indoor commercial entertainment land use, specifically a restaurant with a bar at 1609 Landmark Drive.
Does everybody know what suegra means?
I don't.
Is it sugar?
Mother-in-law.
Oh, that's different.
Crazy.
Really?
That's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy mother-in-law. Suegra mother.
Okay.
Look it up.
This ought to be quite a place.
Yeah.
What happened to Plan Commission? Anything, Melissa?
We approved it. There wasn't anybody from Suegra Loca there.
Okay.
And the public hearing was 2 short minutes. So they were all very interested in having another license.
Absolutely.
I move to approve the request from Sierra Zimprich of Suegra Loco. I can even say it.
Suegra.
Conditional.
Okay.
Permit.
All
Conditional
right.
use permit.
So we've got a motion and a second to approve the request from Sierra Zimprich of Sierra Loca. Any other discussion? If not-
Jack, I just have one question.
Yeah.
Is there a set number of liquor permits that the village has? And the only reason why I ask is, you know, just with the new development and some of the businesses coming here, I don't think it really plays into it, but I was just curious if there is a set amount that the village currently carries.
What do we have for?
Lisa can probably answer
Yeah.
that.
I didn't hear the
He
question.
was curious about the number of liquor permits for a place like this, there we had
How many
our.
we have remaining?
Okay. Oh gosh, I think it's 4 or 5 that are, that are, they're
They're
reserved-
$10,000.
Reserved
$10,000.
license, so they're the $10,000 license, our normal
Do they
license are
know
used.
that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we've got 4 or 5 left, John.
We can't forget that.
So
right?
there's 4 or 5 left after this request?
Including this one?
Right.
I think there's 4 left after
Including
this
this,
one.
yeah.
So 4 after this one.
What happens then?
And then my other, is what would increase that amount? Like,
Yeah,
would they
people.
go up?
People,
Yeah,
so
go
for
back.
every 500 in population, we gain another license.
Okay.
Okay, so it's
Now you're gonna be
possible.
pro-growth, aren't you?
All right.
And that's just for in the village.
So only big families can come in now.
Yep,
No
You can
onesie,
purchase
twosie,
from one of your
fivesy,
neighbors if
tensies.
they have
yeah.
available license.
But I mean,
Right.
in a certain area.
Right.
Okay. So we had a motion and a second to approve. Yes, John? Good. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, motion passes.
And then the other things that we discussed at Plan Commission were preparing an amendment to 325-110 of the village zoning ordinance, which is the protest petition, and the commission members discussed it and decided that it would be best to get rid of that from our ordinance to follow state statutes.
Okay.
So the staff is preparing that for us for the next plan commission to have a public hearing
Okay.
on
So-
that.
So there was no discussion about what to do with the existing petition? I mean, this reference is only TID 10, but there's an active one everybody knows it for Shady Grove. What would we do with that?
That's grandfathered in.
Grandfathered in?
There is no
Okay.
need to discuss
Yeah.
it.
Theirs, I mean,
Theirs.
the current one is grandfathered.
Okay, I'm surprised that wasn't brought up. That's all, just for the community.
And Kyle Broom brought up about that if there's like a property that only has one owner next to the village property, that one owner can then stall our development. And we need to get more development going in the village. So that was
The-
his concern.
The board has ultimate right over that area, though.
Yeah,
So-
but we won't need a supermajority at that point, and that was his issue. And the plan commission members that were here, I think, were all previous trustees, so they understand how difficult it is to get a supermajority,
Why
or
would-
even majority in some instances.
Right.
Yeah, why wouldn't we just change the percentage then rather than, I'm just curious, I don't know.
That was discussed, but ultimately, because there was some discussion about whether it should just be village residents having the ability to protest. But then we brought up about how Casey's, how people came in and talked about how they were against it, which made the board decide that they didn't want to go forward with Casey's. So we all, well, it was, I think one person voted against, but the majority voted to proceed with changing the ordinance for just getting rid of it to bridge state statutes.
So that'll be on the next
Consistent.
plan commission.
Right.
Okay.
And then Aaron had reviewed housing goals for the village comp plan, and we discussed about affordable housing options and benefits in a community for different housing options, and how our comp plan doesn't necessarily bring affordable housing or workforce housing options into it. So that was the main thing discussed. Anything else in there?
That'll be an ongoing discussion.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that was a good discussion.
All right. All right, moving down. Reports from village officers, Troy?
No report.
Okay, James?
No report.
Jeff?
No report.
Melissa?
The Optimist Bingo event yesterday was very successful with over 100 people coming out on a snowy afternoon to play a little bingo for the kids. I don't know the specifics, but it was successful. I mean, it was neat that that the kids had a lot of fun. And then on March 9th at 6:30 at the VFW on Cottage Grove Road, there's a euchre tournament by the Optimists, only $20. Includes a drink.
All right. John Russell, any report?
Just a public safety announcement, if you're out shoveling or walking with the snow, be careful.
John, I feel your pain. I gotta get shoulder surgery next Monday because I fell on the ice.
Oh, no.
So you and I will be gimping our way into that thing on the 28th.
I got 2 screws going in the ankle tomorrow, so.
Oh,
I'll let you pick me up. I can't drive.
One of you can steer, one of you can steer.
You're right, you're left ankle.
Okay. All right, John Williams, any?
no report.
All right, I have nothing. Lee Boucher, legal briefings.
I have a question for the for the board and also for Lisa and Deb. Paula Severson was on EMS and different committees. And she sent me an email that said, how long does she have to keep minutes or papers? And that was an ordinance that we were looking at potentially doing some changes to. The city of Madison was going through a big ordinance change, and we were waiting for them to get done. So I guess my question is, do you want anything done with that ordinance, and/or Lisa or Deb, can you give me an answer to give to Paul?
Are they originals?
I think they're just her notes.
Then,
She doesn't, we don't need them.
Okay. Paula, if you're watching.
Let the shredder.
Let the shredder go.
Let's get her on the blower.
It's all public record, isn't it?
So,
Yeah. Okay, Matt, anything?
like reminder of the Summit Credit Union ribbon cutting is 5:15. I think that was a change in time.
Yeah.
And it's on March 4th, so before the next board meeting.
Okay. And you have to RSVP.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's a
click
good,
the button.
that's a good reminder. And then, as I was thinking through the TDS stuff that Chase and I will relay, I think great idea is that the door, asking them to do door hangers for some notice. I mean, if it was my business, I think providing notice to, regardless if it's an easement or not, I think people, when they see someone working in their yard, even though they have the right to be there, it's just best practice, but I don't know that we can require anything. To, remind the board again, we decided not to pursue the developer agreement with them because they were asking for financial incentives. Sorry, did John have a question?
I don't know.
And I guess, with that, we didn't grant them any easements other than a right-of-way permit for them to work in the road right-of-way. So that's a standard thing that any utility would have the right to, so.
We just got a flyer on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay.
That they're
Yeah, I
coming.
got one on my
Oh,
phone.
Yeah, that's.
But I got this on Saturday as well, and I'm on Forston Drive, so, but they aren't on my side
Oh,
yet.
I was gonna say the
So-
government through.
So, maybe with the snow, if this stuff blew off or something, because it's
I mean,
funny.
we'll reiterate the preference to put the equipment in the backyards, but again, if they have an easement that says for that purpose they can put it there, if I were them as a business, working with the landowners, I would try to make it work, but it's kind of I know it's not what people want to hear, but I don't know that the village can do anything.
Well, in the one that was sent to us, and luckily I got mine, is it blew off my house, because they put those on and it ended up.
Mine was in the yard too.
Yeah, so I found it 2 doors down as I was walking my dog, and I looked it up, and it does say on there, if you have invisible fencing, that you are responsible for flagging. So you have to.
Flagging it?
Flagging it,
Yeah.
yeah, which I had to do before. I've had to do that when I hired a company to come and do the
Yeah.
aerating in my yard, and they told me if I have a visible fence, I'm responsible for flagging. So I went out, took my little thing, beep, 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 and I flagged it, and then they went around it. So, but that's a lot of invisible fencing, and it snows on me.
I was gonna say, that's hard to do.
So I thought that right away when I saw it. I'm like, well, if it weren't snow on the ground, I'd probably go up and do it, but.
Well, and if they didn't get the flyer, how would
Yeah,
they?
I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't happened to be walking my dog, and my neighbor said, I think this came off your door.
And it sounds like the people that they have digging the lines aren't necessarily TDS, like they seem.
They have several different subcontractors, and unfortunately, it does make, the people come to the village, and then, we do look bad when something's not being done, well, but, we'll enforce everything we can within the right-of-way permit.
And we'll go through the STC contract, we'll pull it and look at it, because that's the language that Mr. Hanson has in this flyer, but it was not the intention or the language of when this contract was done that somehow we were outlawing anybody else's use of cable in the village, so.
And it doesn't matter because
It says mobile.
It's for mobile, right?
Mobile,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it's for mobile, and on
Yeah.
top of that, we didn't grant any
Yeah.
easement to, it's okay. I mean, I don't see it being.
And I know that JJ's on top of this, but I really think that someone needs to ask TDS, specifically if there's boxes already in someone's yard, whether it's the front, whether it's the back, and the side, why would they not put their box with the rest of the boxes?
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Right.
Big time.
What was that?
I said I agree with you big time on that.
Yeah.
When I went down that road, I'm like, if this were my yard.
Oh, yeah, I'd be
I
mad.
would be
Yeah.
like, what
Yeah.
is going on? Well, just.
I'd tear the thing out.
Yeah.
Drive over it.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah, I'd borrow your truck, though. Do that.
Yeah. And it better make it right. I mean, to have it at an angle, that's just.
But the point is everybody already has those someplace on or near their property, and just logic, why wouldn't the rest of the stuff go there too?
I think they're perfectly able to put it in back if they wanted to, it's just a question of are they willing to.
My question is, when it comes to an easement like that too, you know, some of the questions came up about sod, and I know we'll have this discussion, we make this an agenda item down the road, but do they have to do sod in an easement? Because it's really not a property.
Well, they have to return it to, what's they have to return it to the
Same or
original.
better.
Yeah,
Same or better, right?
right.
Yeah. So we'll have to watch them in the spring. see
And
what
I
they-
think,
But it doesn't say it's good or better immediately upon restoration. I mean, when we do projects, we say it's good or better for, Cell Down was one where we had the contractors go back a number of times, but we didn't sod either. I mean,
And just to pick up on the comment that was made, TDS is using different subs.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that some of the subs may not have the best.
So it's up to
Customer
TDS,
service
it's up to
skills, yeah.
TDS company to come back and take care of it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's frustrating because there's all this snow and it's been crappy out and they have this work done on your property where you can't see what's actually happening because of all the snow and all the blizzard.
we could even invite someone from TDS maybe to come at the next meeting, so we're not.
I would like that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
And then let these folks know they're gonna be here.
Yeah, then they can come back.
And we'll just leave and they can.
We'll do our closed session while they,
Cage match.
Yeah, we got a plan B here going, all right.
Yeah. All right. Let's see, we're down to, Aaron, anything?
Representative Gary Hebel and Senator Mark Miller are conducting a town hall listening session here in the village at Monona State Bank this Thursday from 5 to 6:30.
When?
This Thursday from 5 to 6:30.
5 to 6:30, okay.
Okay. All right, Chief Labor, we got an annual report and use of force report?
Yep, every year I put together these and the internal affairs and goals and objectives, and obviously I'm not going to go through the whole annual report here, but I did notice the one I sent to Lisa was missing some pages, so I think when you convert it to the packet, it somehow disappears. That's not how the real report looks, that's why I had her email a different version to you.
That's what the blank pages were?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there's
I thought it was
stuff there.
something me.
There's stuff there. But just a couple of things I wanted to highlight, obviously, is our accreditation in 2018. We now have body cameras. We're on the third year of paying those off already, because when we have a little extra money, we throw it at that. We came in under budget this year. Revenue was up greatly because of self-initiated activities. That's on page 2. And I'm skipping past all the pictures of everybody to...
This is a good
Oh,
looking
Lars
picture.
was,
Lars, yeah, I took
Lars
that
looks
picture.
good.
Yeah, that was a good one. And then we went to total calls for service. We're up to about 14,000 calls for service compared to 9,800 last year. It's a 42% increase in calls for service. And most of that can be attributed to self-initiated activity again. And self-initiated activity can be anything from a traffic stop to a building check to a field interview of someone walking down the street, whatever. But they're busy and they're keeping busy, and when they're not assigned to a call, they're doing things, which is pretty much what you want from police officers.
Like giving cookies to kids with wearing their helmet.
Yes, yes, that's definitely a fun one to do. So we have all sorts of coupons from different businesses in the village, and we're very happy to give those out and have a positive interaction. The village has a low crime rate. Obviously, that has to do with our demographics here. We have good people living in the village. So the police department obviously has something to do with that. And with the low crime rate, we have a very high clearance rate, and it's well above norms in the state of Wisconsin and the United States, as you can see from the graphs that I provided. And we are one of the 10 safest cities in the state when you consider cities above 5,000 in population. So we're doing well in that regard. Our solve rate for property crimes is way above the norm, and for violent crimes, we solve pretty much all of them. I attached the UCR report, which is what we report to the FBI and the Department of Justice, and it shows our crimes, and it describes victims and our clearances. So we had 114 total crimes, 2018, 115 victims, and we cleared 104 of those. Does anybody have any questions about the crimes and the clearance and how we come to those?
I just got to compliment the staff on handling toilet paper of kids one afternoon, or one evening. And I spoke to the officer after the fact and how he handled that. But one of your situations just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah, we catch a lot of them, and generally it's...
It was funny to listen. I had the window open, I heard him.
Yes,
These poor kids were...
Did you make them go back and clean it up? And
No.
Oh.
No, I had already got the one round from the one side, and then they were coming back through to hit the other side a while later. He happened to be driving by. He offered 3 of them a ride home and talked to them about don't be on drugs. So I think a good experience for everybody, and made me chuckle.
Okay.
Yep. So total offenses in the village went down, crimes went down 30 last year. Trying to see if there's anything I need to bring up in there. Highlights our investigations. Medical assistance, our medical assistance calls went up from 394 to 457 this past year, so we're out there assisting EMS and giving basic first aid, and the officers receive more training every year on that. Traffic enforcement, I thought it was interesting to highlight our traffic offenses, and obviously speeding 11 to 15 is our biggest traffic offense. I think the no proof of insurance thing is incorrect because it has 473 violations, so that would be 1 out of every 5 people we pull over doesn't have insurance.
You really ought to catch them.
Yeah, well, I got this right from the state, the DOT, so I think they gave me a wrong figure on that. The other ones, I'm pretty confident are accurate. So speeding 11 to 15, you'll notice speeding 1 to 10, it's a pretty rare ticket for us. We only did that 37 times last year. And traffic stops went up about 1,000 from 2017 to 2018. Accidents continue to go down or stay about the same, so increased traffic enforcement usually means less accidents. And then our non-traffic offenses, we write citations for. I put the graph in there, and as you'll see, it's mostly for possession of marijuana and possession of drug paraphernalia. Highlighted Nextdoor, Facebook, crime prevention strategies, and then our training. Any questions on the annual report?
Nice to have it broken down like this, thank you.
One question sheet, now that it snows every 3 days, the alternate night parking isn't an issue anymore, people have figured it out.
No.
Really?
And they're angry. I'm getting calls every day, why are you giving me tickets? You've never done this before. Well, I think because they didn't give a rat's ass because it was $10 in the past, now
Right.
it's 25.
Oh,
So they
more.
care. They care now.
That's a legal conclusion on your.
They care, because I'm getting calls every day and people complaining about it, and why isn't there anything out there telling us about this parking regulations? I will then go into describing to them how it was in the newspaper, it's on our website, it's on our Facebook page. We wrote warnings for 2 months before it started snowing, so I don't know what else we can do to educate them. And I said it's in that fall, winter newsletter that goes to everybody, so.
At least it's not $60 like the
Right.
city down the road.
Yeah.
Are there still the habitual bad parkers then, the same people getting tickets?
Yeah, there's people with multiple tickets. They all have very good excuses for doing it, too. Then there's the annual use of force report. As you can see, we had 9 use of force reports, incidents in 2018. Every one of them just involved physical force. It didn't involve taser, firing a weapon, or, an impact type of weapon. And nobody was required to get first aid or made a complaint about the use of force.
Chief, any comment about the number that were younger? I noticed that there were several in there that were teenagers, and
Yeah.
any thoughts on what's driving that, or
Well, some of them
you're
are,
invincible, I guess, at that age? I don't know.
2 of them are the same person, and
Oh,
and she has severe issues, and that's why she's in a halfway house. And we dealt with her many times in the past. And then there's some kids at the middle school that are there, and they're mainstreamed, but they also, those teachers up there, I'll give them a lot of credit. They're going hands-on every day with those kids. And then we get only called up there when they're out of control and they can't control them. So we obviously don't like to put hands on teenagers, but it's, you're forced to in
Yeah.
some situations. And then the internal affairs, I didn't include it in here. We only had 1 internal affairs investigation in 2018. It resulted in multiple days off for a person that did not take part in the accreditation effort and took ownership of it. Just think we won't have that problem again. Questions?
I just wanted to point out that I appreciate that you are part of the Cottage Grove Triad, and that you're working on the Special Needs Awareness Program, which I think those two kind of go together in some respects. And I did not know that you did vehicle lockout, so that's a nice thing to know.
Yes. And it's pretty rare nowadays to have that done. We make them sign a waiver because sometimes you damage a car when you go in. So they're aware of, we break something.
You can't live with them, you can't live with them.
Yeah.
Chief, I also really appreciate you making sure there's an officer or somebody there during the peer court committee. It means a lot to us to have somebody there for the police department.
Okay, great.
And as far as your, the goals, when you come up with your 2019 goals?
I think I already did. And we also have a strategic plan. But I will, I think, Matt, I sent those to you.
Yeah, we have, I actually sent them to everybody.
Yeah, they were part of the list.
Great. I'll do that then. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, JJ, anything else? Okay.
He's getting ready for the next round of snow,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
John is here. All right.
Oh, don't forget Deb.
Yep.
Lisa first.
Lisa's first and then, excuse me.
Excuse me.
Robert's rules.
Yeah, well, Roberts didn't know.
Just wanted to inform everybody that we have hired our administrative assistant. She will be starting next Monday. Her name is Joy McLean, so we will be excited to welcome her.
All
No
right.
report.
No report. All right, moving down, communications and miscellaneous business, consider approval of vouchers. Any questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second, but I have a couple of questions.
All right.
So as far as the garbage and recycling goes, is there, like, I've had a lot of people say, and it's also for myself, I could go 2 weeks without taking out my trash, but like recycle, I could almost do every week. Is there a way we could reverse it? So we do recycle every week and garbage every other?
I mean, yeah, we should probably have to wait for the end of the contract, or we could, try to open the contract back up and renegotiate.
Right. Is it, does it, because it looks like recycling is cheaper than trash, or is that just for January that it is? Was there less?
No, it is. But trash is every week and recycling is every other week.
Right.
Also, recycling is on the tax bill, so you would almost have to get public input to increase that, I would think. I don't know if you have to, but it's just.
Oh, recycling's on the tax bill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Garbage is.
Recycling is a special charge on the tax bill, garbage is not. Garbage is levied.
Okay. Just a thought. And the leave for your legal fees, where it has due from Hamburg's, it's on page 2, due
Yeah.
from Shady Grove, like, so.
No, it wouldn't be for Shady Grove.
No.
Well, it says due from Shady Grove on here for $64.
Yeah, there was a small charge for chamber.
So
But
we-
not for Hamburg's, right?
There was a charge for both.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And do from Tim Olson. And I'm just wondering, so, oh, I see it's a 200, sorry. The street tree funding comes out of, no, the 210.
210 is a developer fund.
Okay.
So it's just basically a pass-through fund. So we pay Lean, and then I turn around and bill the developers.
Got it, thank you, that's what I was questioning. What does the MTAW stand for?
Municipal Treasurers Association of Wisconsin. That's it.
Okay. All right, anything else? Otherwise, you seconded, right? Okay. So we had a motion and second to approve. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Okay, motion passes. Correspondence, I have nothing official. Upcoming community events, anybody?
You for March 9th.
Yep.
Was the
And,
bingo open to, was that just for kids, or was that the?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you
Get my
could have came
skills
on
going.
out.
Yep.
Big bucks.
And again, the March 4th Summit ribbon cutting, but I think we all know about that. Anything else?
And the candidate forum on the 28th.
Oh, candidate forum on the 28th, and that's 5 o'clock?
6.
6 o'clock, okay. All right, future agenda items? Anybody?
TDS.
Yeah.
TDS, yeah. Yeah.
And that, if we can get a representative from TDS here, then we invite the people that were here earlier back.
Okay. Anything else? All right. At this point, I'll make a motion that the Village of Cottage Grove enters into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1985, Parent 1, Parent E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and Wisconsin State Statute 1985, Parent 1, Parent G, conferring with legal counsel for the government body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or likely to become involved. This closed session is to discuss Commerce Park TID 5, land sale negotiations, and to discuss potential annexations in the town of Sun Prairie. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. We need a roll call vote.
Allen? Elmore?
Aye.
Henrik?
Aye.
Lindberg?
Aye.
Ratcliffe?
Aye.
Russell?
John?
John?
You there, John?
Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yep, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Williams?
Aye.
Okay, we're in closed session.
John, I'll call you back in a moment here. That's like in the morning.
you know, when they have, they cut to those people who are standing out, like, you know, when it's snowing and stuff like that.